Hello YouTubers, today we're going to work on putting a P-trap and a cutoff switch on a Lennox air conditioning and heating system. Apparently when this unit was installed, it was not installed with a P-trap nor with a cutoff switch. And let me see if I can move over slowly so you can see the opposite side of this unit. And I recommend that you look at the manufacturer's manual for this unit so you can see how to appropriately put the vent and the cutoff switch. So what you're looking at right now is the actual vent for the heating system on the bottom, and on the top what you're looking at is the pipe, the drain pipe for the air conditioning unit, particularly the air exchange unit. Alright, so in a few seconds I'll let you know what kinds of equipment you're going to need to do this job. Okay, after doing some research, being a former telecommunications engineer and being taught to read manuals, I found out and did some research, and what I'm going to use is an Easy Trap 226, and that's going to be my cutoff switch for the overflow for the condensate. And I also, instead of using a P-trap, a conventional P-trap that traps water and makes a seal that way, I did some research, and Easy Trap also manufactures this EZT 150, which is a waterless condensate trap kit. And that's what I'm going to use. And in addition, I've got some elbows and some T's. And I bought these particular T's that have a clean-out port on them. And the best place to get that is really in a plumbing supply store, because if you try to order it online or even on Amazon, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for it, where you can get it for around $3 a piece. Also, I have PVC cement and cleaner. I got some pipes. I got a wrench. I got a PVC cutter from Harbor Freight, and I also have a way to cut some PVC that's already installed on the heating unit. Alright, I'll give you more instructions as we go along. Okay, for sake of illustration, I've got the manual for my Lennox furnace, and if you probably could see, and maybe not, but you can see how the manufacturer recommends that the P-trap be installed on this unit. And I'm going to use that as a guide when I'm installing my waterless condensate P-trap. Alright? My first step here is going to be that I'm going to cut the existing drain pipe and vent from this unit. And let me see if I can point to it right there. I'm going to cut it right there. And then on this opposite side here, I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to cut this PVC pipe from here and then put my new unit in. And as I'm building it, I'll be leaving you instructions of how to do it. Okay, I'm not going to bore you showing you how I'm going to cut this unit. And I'm one of the types that I like to use what I've got. So I've got this utility saw, and I'm going to use that to cut the PVC pipe like I was telling you right at this point. So I'm not going to bore you, so you don't have to watch me cut it, but I'll turn it back on once I've cut this pipe. Okay, you can see I've cut this pipe, and I discovered that whoever did this particular job didn't cement these two pieces together. So now I'm left with the second part where I'm going to cut, which is that pipe that you're looking right there, and I'm going to cut that. And then we can begin installing the new waterless P-trap and the condensate overflow switch. As you can see, I finished cutting this pipe. Now to clean it up and start building the new waterless P-trap and the cutoff switch. Alright, my next part there, I've just cut the piece off. Now I'm going to use the wrench and take that nipple off. The nipple is off, and just to show you, that was right in here, and all I just did was use the wrench to take it out. Alright, I'm going to clean this up and then put a new nipple and start building. Alright, let's start building. I'm going to take my new nipple here. It's a 3/4 inch nipple. Male nipple, that is. And I'm just going to tighten it in there by hand. And again, I'm not going to bore you while I'm doing this, but that's all you need to do at this point. I have here a scrap of 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and I'm going to use that just to make a small piece here so I can attach this clean out tee. So this is going to be attached to that, and I'm going to pretty much get it pretty close and on a slight tilt on the bottom. And then the reason why you're using this clean out tee is that should this ever get clogged, you need a way to be able to clean it, and using this clean out tee makes it a lot easier. You can just back off this plug and you can go ahead and clean it. Now I measured the inside of that nipple and the inside of that clean out tee, and it's about 1 3/4 inches, but I'm going to cut a piece of 2-inch PVC, and I'm going to use the Harbor Freight PVC cutter to do that. Okay, here it is. I've got my PVC cutter, and I'm just going to squeeze down on this, and hopefully it'll cut it, and we can move on to the next stage. And you'll be noticing I'm going to be dry fitting this. I'm not going to cement it until I know I have everything the way I want it, and that's what I would recommend. Up the piece, and it looks pretty clean. The only thing I'm going to do now is use some sandpaper and deburr the edges here so that it'll go in very easily. And like I said, I'll be dry fitting it in. Alright, I cleaned up the cutting edges here, and I used some scrap sandpaper I had around there. I think this is an 80 grit, and I used that, and it seems to do the job, so I'm going to go ahead and continue using it. Let's dry fit these two pieces and see how that works out. Alright, so I've put this piece in there. I'm just going to tilt it down just slightly, not much, just a very slight angle here. I'm going to tilt it down, and then we'll move on to the next step. So as you can see on this level, I do have it pointing slightly down. Alright, up to this point, I put another T in there, as you can see. And let me just line it up this way so you can see that I've tried to line it up to the existing vent and drain pipe. Alright, so now I'm going to build in and put in the waterless P-trap. At this point, I've got the waterless condensate trap pretty much installed, dry installed that is, and I'm ready to mark the other end, and then we'll continue, and then I'll just take it all apart, put it all back, and show you exactly how the pieces fit together. Here we have all the pieces assembled. Again, they're not glued, they're just dry fitted together, and what I did is I marked all the intersections where the pipes meet the connectors. Alright, so you can see that. And I'll try to move this slowly so you can see the rest of this. And there it is. And you notice that each of these T's has a clean out. And there is the waterless condensate trap installed. And there it is, all assembled. And now what's left is to take everything off, disassemble it, and then glue it. The next step now is we want to test fit the condensate cutoff switch, and you notice there's a red plug on the second drain, or the secondary drain. The first one, where I have the waterless condensate trap, is what they call the primary. The one on the left with the red plug is considered the secondary, and it sits a little higher. So that's why they call it the secondary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 1/2-inch drive to get that plug out. It appears that the 1/2-inch drive fits perfectly in there. So if you need to take it out, that's what you need to do. All right, let me see if I can hold this camera steady while I demonstrate how to take this guy out. Again, I'm not going to bore you, but you can see it's turning, and that's what you need. A 1/2-inch ratchet with a 1/2-inch drive. I've already screwed in this adapter, and all I really did is just turned it. And then here's the condensate easy trap cutoff switch assembly. And as you can see, it fits right in there. All right, so there you go. That's going to fit in. So if you're going to do this job, remember, you want to get these
adapter and nipple in place
before you do anything else. So I'm going to get these two in before I do anything else. I'm going to make sure that these couplers are in. All right? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start assembling, and what I did is I put some pipe joint compound on the threads of these guys, and just sparingly, not a whole lot. I just don't want any leaks after I assemble it. Okay, this is the finished job with the waterless P-trap condensate trap already installed, and all the pipes have been glued. And if you don't know how to cement those PVC pipes together, please see some other instructional videos. It's pretty simple. Basically, you just use the cleaner. That's the purple thing that you'll see in some of these joints. Let's see if I can move up, and maybe you can see it. Yep, there you go. Some of the purple stuff you'll see in some of the joints there. That's the cleaner, and then you wipe on some cement, and then you fuse the two pieces together, hold it together for about 30 seconds, and that's pretty much it. It's not a very complicated procedure. The next thing that I'm going to show you how to do is to actually wire the cutoff switch, the easy trap cutoff switch here, to the actual furnace. And I've seen some of this demonstrated in a previous video, but they didn't give you all the details that you needed to do in order to wire it. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to shut off the video. I'm not going to bore you with taking off the covers. It's basically a couple of screws, and you can take the cover off. To wire the cutoff switch, you're going to need a few tools. Basically, you're just going to need a wire cutter and some wire nuts, and I have plenty of them. Not that we're going to use them, we only need really one. Maybe some electrical tape and a nut driver, just to use that to open up the cover. And some tie wraps. You can use anything that you have available, and that's what I'm using. Moving over this way, I just wanted to emphasize to you that anytime you're going to do any kind of electrical work, you need to shut off your furnace. And in my case, there's an accessible switch here, and that's basically off. In my case, I have a LED there that confirms that this thing is off. But you want to make sure that if you're going to be wiring anything in this furnace, that you make sure power is off. Alright, this particular furnace has a AquaGuard pan overflow cutoff switch that's already been wired onto this furnace. And what we're going to need to do is that we're going to need to put our switch in series with this AquaGuard cutoff switch, so that if either one of them breaks the circuit, the furnace will turn off. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. Now I've opened up the case here, and I'm going to show you the two wires that are connected already to the control panel of the furnace. And as you can see here, here's one end of that pan cutoff switch, and here's the other. And what we need to do is this new, let's see if I can just pull this out, this new wire for the evaporator or air housing cutoff that we just installed, the Easy Trap cutoff switch. We need to put this in series with that existing switch. So basically what we're going to do is open this guy up, connect this guy, one end of this guy, to one end of here, and then we'll connect this switch, this part of this guy, onto here. In other words, we want to put them in series with one another, so that if either one of them senses an overflow condition, it'll cut off the furnace. Now, you don't want to do this in parallel, because that wouldn't do anything for you. Because if one of the switches sensed an overflow, well, the other one will still keep the current flowing through the circuit. So we want to wire this in series, and you'll see what I mean once I start wiring this. So let me cut off these pieces here that I need and strip this back, and then I'll show you how to wire this thing in series. Alright, so now continuing with wiring this switch, one of the things I found, actually I found two possible problems here. If you look at this blower connection, you'll notice that this is right on the bottom there, and it was laying there flat. And what could happen is, if some water gets in there, like there's evidence that some may have been here, and this thing is laying flat like that, that could short circuit it, this blower. So what I'm going to do before I finish off, I'm just going to tie wrap this very loosely to this rubber hose right there and keep this off from the bottom. This other piece here, I'm not so much concerned because that's already insulated. A little water won't hurt that possibly. All right, but this is definitely not good, letting that connector be on the bottom sitting here in case some water is collected. All right, so the next first part we're going to do is we're going to uncap this connection right here. All right, continuing here, what I did is I just opened this up. All right, and this is going to the transformer, and this is going to, well, it was going to the transformer, and I just took it out, and now we're going to put this my switch in series, and what that means is I'm going to connect this end to here, and this end here, okay? This end here, and the other end to the opposite end, and that'll put my switch in series. All right, and let me just pause this, and then I'll show you what I've got. All right, here's the first end already tie wrapped. Excuse me, wire nut. So that's nice and secure, nice and tight. Now let's do the opposite end. All right, and now I've got the other end in there, and that's connected. So let's follow along from it, all right? So probably the easiest way to start off here, just to make sure that I've showed you how this is connected in series, is to let's start from the control board, all right? So here's the red wire from the first cutoff switch, and that goes down, all right? Goes in there and goes all the way down into the pan cutoff switch, and then comes back out on the opposite end, which is this end right here that I'm holding in my hand. That end now goes into the black of my new cutoff switch that I just installed. And that goes in through here, all right, and just goes up to the cutoff switch and then returns on the opposite end. And then that's going in there, and then that's going out to the transformer. All right, so that's it. So you can see that it's in series. All right, again, from the circuit board, comes out from the circuit board on this red wire and out to the outlet switch, then returns back on this red wire. All right, that gets connected into my second cutoff switch, and that goes into and then comes back out on this end and then out to the transformer, so it's in series. All right, so that's pretty much it. And the only thing I'm going to do next is just going to take and make sure that this doesn't hang onto the floor, just in case some moisture gets in there, that it doesn't short anything out. So I'm going to tie that up with tie wraps, and then I'll show you the end of it. And then I'm going to give you some tips about what I found on this furnace as I was working on it. And needless to say, this was done by a professional AC heating, but there were some things they did in haste that could have caused me problems, and I'll outline what they are. I've now pretty much finished off. I tie wrapped both of these guys, and just a word of warning, when you tie wrap these guys, you don't need to squeeze down on so tightly on them. You just want to group them and keep them together. I'm not going to tie wrap them together, just so when the service guy comes in, he can see that they're separate and how they were wired. It just makes it easy for him to see. All right, and then I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to put the cover back on. All right, so there you go. That's pretty much it. I'm not concerned about the bottom here and where the moisture hits that. That's already insulated. What we're worried about is just making sure that anything that's the connection point doesn't get any moisture on it. And as you can see, this is pretty far back, and it really doesn't in there. And again, I'm just leaving it. I'm not gonna tie wrap it, just so the next service guy can come. He can see how it was wired. Again, like I was telling you before, this blower connector, I'm going to tie wrap it just very loosely right up to this pipe here, just to keep it off from the bottom. Again, just in case some moisture hits it. So there you go. You can see that this blower connector now is just loosely connected, just to keep it away from the bottom here. Again, I'm not worried about the insulated part of this cable. Should that get wet, hopefully it's insulated and won't cause any problem. All right, there you go, guys. I'm now going to show you this again, and I'm going to back off, and then I'm going to cover this, and then I'll give you some of my pointers and some of the tips and some of the potential problems that I saw here. All right, here it is. And the only thing I've done here is added another tie wrap at this end. And then this here is the way it was wired originally by the HVAC installer. And here's the new. And if you want to test it, all you need to do is, if you want to test this new switch, all you have to do is just put it face down, and that should turn off the furnace. All right, so I'm going to put that back in. And there you go. This job is pretty much done. Now, some of the potential problems that I saw here while I was working, one was that when I opened this trap, and I wish I would have done this sooner, and I looked inside, I did see some insulation that the HVAC installer left right within there, which you can't see, but I was able to inspect it with a light. And I did see that there was a piece of insulation. Unfortunately, I could not grab it to get it out. So that's a potential problem. Because if that blocks, right now it's the opening is unblocked. But if that piece of insulation goes back in there again, that could cause me problems because it could back up the water. So I'm going to keep monitoring it. And goes to show you that even though you have these units professionally installed, you as the homeowner should be diligent in watching some of this stuff. And this is one of the things that you need to watch out for. All right, so then the other thing I found out was that, and I showed you, was that the blower motor here, the connector for the blower motor, was on the base of the pan. And we already saw, well, at least I've seen some traces there of some possible moisture that had gotten in there. And it could have been because of the blockage that I just cleared on the primary pan drain there. All right, so those are the two potential problems that I spotted. And that's one of the tips I would give you if you're going to install this water waterless P-trap system from Rectorseal. And again, I purchased all these pieces on my own. I'm not endorsing any of these products, and I will put a list of the names of the products that I used. But again, I'm not endorsing it. I'm not a professional HVAC person. I have been trained in electrical theory, and just like you, when I need to have my heating and air conditioning system serviced, I call a professional. All right? Hope this helps. This is dedicated pretty much to all the ladies and men that have shared their videos over YouTube, and I have immensely benefited from your videos, and this is an honor to you, and hopefully this will help someone out there in YouTube who's thinking about using a waterless P-trap. I'm going to keep monitoring this. Again, I bought this on my own. There is no one that gave me these parts, and I don't know, although I trust the manufacturer, I have no history with this waterless P-trap. It's relatively new. And there are other units out there, and if one of the manufacturer wants to send me one, I'll be happy to install it in one of my neighbor's unit and do a better job of videotaping. All right. You have a great day. Hope this helps somebody.